So we are at the first Cabinet Lekgotla of the Government of National Unity, which is now is the government. And this Lekgotla is constituted by members of the cabinet who are ministers and and other members of the national executive who are deputy ministers. We've got the representation of SALGA, we've got the provincial premiers of all our provinces, and we are meeting here so that we can then finalize a program of action. We agree on the set of actions that will then form the minimum of the program of action of government. That will allow us to then go back and consolidate what you will know as the medium-term strategic framework. Now we're calling it the medium-term development plan, so that you can then have the delineation. And the set of actions are being guided by the priorities that were agreed by the parties to the GNU, which are the 9 priorities. And in those 9 priorities, there's going to be a number of presentations that will say how do we agree on this. And we are guided as another filter by the National Development Plan. You'll recall when we briefed previously, we indicated that the National Development Plan is the lodestar of the development plan of the country, and guided by Vision 2030. So earlier we had a present, of course the president opened the Lekgotla. We had a presentation from one of the experts in the country around development. And if you recall, priority number 1, and I think up to priority number 3 or 4, they focus on economic growth and not only economic growth, inclusive growth and job creation. And we're looking at what should we do to unlock the economy to grow so that it can create jobs for the people of South Africa. And also, how do we, to do that, we need a partnership with business. We need also a capable, ethical and developmental state to have that capacity. And if I have to go back to the economic growth, inclusive growth and job creation, we are focusing on what are the areas of reforms that will unlock the economy, the issues around water. It's an issue. I hope we'll get you an opportunity to talk to the Minister of Water sometime later. Electricity and energy in general, you know, the impact it has had in our economy, and we've seen the numbers. And what are we doing to deal with those reforms? We're dealing with issues around job creation, but how does the economic growth trajectory look like? What are the plans? Well, we should be able to get you the Minister of Trade and Industry and Competition, maybe to talk to you depending on the scheduling. And as we meet, we are cognizant of the fact we are meeting with in a time where we have disasters, people who have been cut out of their homes and they do not have shelter. You've been interacting with Minister Kubai, and we think we can bring her over to talk to you about what is the progress that we have made and the interventions that we're doing, given the work that has been done. You will recall the other disaster in KZN and also in the Eastern Cape, the progress thereof, and how we're progressing in assuring and ensuring human settlements. We'll see. And I need to also clarify that from this Lekgotla, we're not going to invite the media to a briefing on the outcomes of the Lekgotla. The outcomes of the Lekgotla will be communicated by the President at the opening of Parliament on the 18th of July. And that's what we will then go back and meet as clusters, finalize the priorities of clusters, and finalize then the strategic plans of departments and the annual performance plans of departments, and the budget thereof, which will then be tabled by the Minister of Finance. And to ensure alignment, the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, as I've indicated, when we've agreed on this set of priorities and the MTDP is developed and we go to Cabinet, because the Lekgotla cannot adopt a program. It has to be adopted by Cabinet. Cabinet is the governing authority of South Africa. So Cabinet will adopt, and when that has been adopted, clusters go and work on their cluster priorities and initiatives, and then from there departments go work. The Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, on that period they'll continue to work and to make sure that there's alignment across, and nobody does what they want to do. It's about you remember the argument, we are going to implement ANC priorities, we are going to implement DA priorities. There's no such. We are going to implement government priorities collectively, because there's no DA minister, there's no ANC minister, there is a minister of government, and that's what's important. And as you deal with the issues today, that's what we are consolidating, so that we have a single view and a single program of action that is agreed by all, and thus cascades also to provinces. And as the premiers open their provincial legislatures and articulate their own provincial programs, they will also go into their own mahutlas and then agree to say, stemming from national, this is what it means for Limpopo, for KZN, for Western Cape, for Northern Cape, for Gauteng, for Free State, for Mpumalanga, for Northwest, for the Eastern Cape. Because government is one and we must coalesce together. In terms of the agenda, we're also going to look, remember we spoke about evidence, part of the priorities is evidence-based planning and action. And the statistician general is going to present in terms of the indicators that we're looking at, and what does that mean in terms of the government program, and to influence that government program. And as we've tabled in the budget of the statistics essay, to say we're starting to work on the indicators of how do we to support the implementation of the district development model to be evidence-based and data-based, as we strengthen our research capability to make sure that we move with speed to achieve the goals of the NDP as articulated.